Charlie's going to go around and hand out these packets that we've made up. I've also got some cards we'll give you at the end. They come in late from the print shop, so I didn't get to attach it, but it's got the link to our new electronic record keeping system so students can book themselves appointments and such. In here you'll find the link to the 988 number, the crisis hotline number. Students can text it or call it, either one. There's also the VAR card, which Mr. Doug is going to speak about once I get done with the PowerPoint. Then you'll find our brochure with all of our different numbers and things on it. With all that contact information, you're probably going to be overwhelmed with information by the time we're done, but I'd rather have too much information as not enough information. Then this fancy piece of cardstock essentially has everything that we're talking about today on it, broke down into a nice little form. And then the last 2 pages are the activity that we're going to do at the very end. So just kind of a breakdown of what all you're going to be given or have been given. So my name is Samuel Long. I'm a therapist here on campus in the Wellness Center. Charlie Burchett is also a counselor on staff. We're in the process of hiring a female counselor that hopefully we'll have hired sooner rather than later. Then we've got Mr. Doug Campbell, who is our case manager on campus. So we're all housed in the Wellness Center. If you don't know where we're at, by all means come by and we'll give you a grand tour of our office. So today we're talking about supporting our students and different ways we can do that. So just some data. I found a research study. I was telling Mr. Doug, the funny thing was I found an old PowerPoint with just some random data on it, and I was like, I'm giving a presentation to faculty. They're going to ask where I got my information at. So I really hated to have information that I didn't have anything to back up. So the University Health Organization, more or less, did this study on 67,308 undergrad students they surveyed from 108 different universities. They found that 24.9% of those students surveyed had a mental health diagnosis in the last 6 months. 87.3% of those students reported that they had felt overwhelmed by college at some point in the last 6 months. 49.8% felt things were hopeless. 82.9% felt exhausted, but not from physical activities. 8.9 to 12.6% considered suicide in the last year. 4.4% to 8.7% reported self-harming behaviors. So this is 108 different universities. I would say this is honestly pretty accurate to our campus if I was thinking about the students that we serve, and Charlie would probably agree with me on that. Those are kind of the numbers that we don't necessarily see sometimes from the classroom, but unfortunately it's reality for our students. And then I've got that article. If you all would like to read it, I can send it out. Everybody got the sign-in sheet. Did we pass out the sign-in sheet? And then everybody got the paper handouts, right? Okay. And we'll take questions and things at the very end, just so Donnie can turn off the camera. So some signs and symptoms, things to look for appearance-wise. Deteriorated hygiene. If you notice the students coming in, it doesn't look like they normally have dressed up, and all of a sudden they're wearing house shoes and pajamas. It may be a little bit of a concern, right? Dramatic weight loss or weight gain. Radical changes in clothing. Like I said, you got a student that was wearing polos to class every day, and then all of a sudden they're wearing their pajamas, or it looks like they just kind of rolled out of bed.
Or black head to toe.
Yeah, or they're suddenly wearing black, all black, or they've radically, dyed their hair some random color. And if you've got a student too, like speaking on that, if you've got a student that has always wore black, like black's their color, like my wife thinks black's the best color in the rainbow. I think not that black's in the rainbow. Meanwhile, I'm over here in my bright colors. So if that's the thing that the student, it's the more the dramatic changes. If you see a student that normally is wearing one thing and then all of a sudden you've got a big change, it's something to kind of keep an eye out for. Limited eye contact, flat affect, expressionless, seems anxious, sad, angry. Behavior-wise, poor or erratic attendance to class, lethargic or sleeping in class, withdrawn, changes in the level of performance in academic work, repeated requests for special considerations, any indication of harm to self or others, verbally, written, or actions. So I mean, like, different things like students holding up like this to their head, maybe obviously a sign for concern. Just kind of keeping an eye out on how our students are behaving, what they're doing, how they're writing if you're an English professor or something to that effect, things that they put in their discussion posts, etc. Interpersonal markers, avoidance of professors and or peers, dependency on professors, like if they seem like they're emailing you at like 3 in the morning, for instance. We sometimes will have students that will email us at way early in the morning, and then you obviously have to have a conversation of, I'm not checking my email at 3 in the morning. If you are having an emergency, these are what you need to do. But just being able to communicate that over-dependence on you all, or us even, as their therapists. Behaviors that disrupt class. Other students' comments or complaints about the student. Feeling uneasy with the student's disclosure, like if they overshare. Like if you've got a student that is like oversharing everything about their lives, can be obviously a sign that something's going on. You may need to reach out to us for some help. Or just an overall feeling that something's not right. The value of the gut is inevitably important. Like we need to, those gut reactions, those gut feelings, sometimes there is some truth in the fact that, you're getting a check in your spirit. Discernment is a thing. So if something feels not right, you may want to explore it a little further and see what's going on. So this is I'm going to flip through because there's a couple more things that pop up. This is kind of the way students, sorry, this microphone's throwing me off, guys. Kind of the way students sometimes view themselves, who's in their bubble. Like you've got friends, probably more so than faculty, and then you've got Mr. Doug over here handing out donuts, and everybody kind of knows who Mr. Doug is, right? So he's inevitably in part of their circle. We've got like us, unless students come to us directly, at counseling services, we don't necessarily touch every student's life. They may get, a handout from us, or they may see us in a classroom, but they're not having any necessarily direct contact with us on a daily basis. Then you've got athletics and coaches and things. That's kind of the way who the student views is in their inner circle. But there was 2 or 3 more bubbles apparently. This is kind of the way that we want it, right? We create like a safety umbrella or a parachute, so to speak, for students to be caught in. Like all of us together as people on campus, we need to interconnect. We need to know each other better than we do. We need to know where each other are. Like that's something I struggle with. Is I've been here since January, and I said I don't think I've necessarily ever gotten a tour of campus. Which is an issue, right? So like if somebody's in a building and I'm like, I don't know where that is. Can I find my student map? We need to be interconnected. That way we can better support our students. Somebody may see somebody in athletics. Yesterday I had an athletic trainer bring a student to our office at about 3 o'clock yesterday, and ended up the student had to go to the ER and eventually to CSU in Morristown, crisis stabilization unit. But if it had not been for the athletic trainer taking that extra step of putting the student in the golf cart and then driving them to our office to get that help, then that ball would have been dropped and God only knows what would have happened. We can't catastrophize, but same thing. This network works if we use it to where we're getting the contacts we need and the resources to our students that they need. So you all, what's my role? As gatekeepers, essentially, if you want to look at yourselves that way, you all are having contact with students, assuming they're going to class 2 or 3 times a week, depending on whether it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, or what have you, or depending on your role on campus. I even say like cafeteria workers, they sometimes are more in tune with students than we are because Miss Doris, is it Miss Doris? What's her name? all these people coming through her door, and she speaks to every one of them. She notices if something's up or if she's not seeing a student. We've coordinated with cafeteria staff, like cafeteria before, just out of concern. Oh, well, they come to dinner every day and they've not come to dinner in however long, something must be going on. But gatekeepers essentially is you all looking for these signs, seeing what's going on. Students, especially the current generation, they're very vocal about what's going on. Not always, but most of the time, if something's going on, you're going to know about it. It's just the point of being able to relay that information on to somebody that can help, or figuring out what kind of resources that student needs. Check-ins, like if students obviously missing class, maybe shoot them an email and see what's going on. Shoot us an email, let us know so we can do an outreach. Just kind of stay in contact with the student, let them know that we care about them, to provide those resources and that safety net. Consult, reach out to us. We're, if you need to figure out or case a student, reach out to us, reach out to Mr. Doug. We'll go that extra mile if we need to. Or if you just have general questions about how to approach a situation, we're here to help. If you need to run something by us, by all means, reach out to us. Now, if we're a little one person down right now, so me and Charlie sometimes are a little booked up, but I promise you we'll make time, whether it be during our lunch or whatever, or stay after work if we have to make sure that you all have the information that you need. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find somebody that does, won't we, Charlie? Refer, send students that little, did you give everybody a card? Okay, Mr. Doug did. That little card on there, the good thing with our new electronic record keeping system, you can literally have students pull up on their phone that website, and they could literally make an appointment with us while they're standing in front of you. Whether that be for health services to see Kristen Klingenpeel, or with me and Charlie, or whoever we end up hiring for counseling services. Obviously, if it's something more pressing, like they're talking about, they've hurt themselves or they've got their arms bandaged up, that's something that probably needs another, just scheduling an appointment at that point probably is not the best option, because that's an immediate danger. But the point is to get them that extra help that they need to make sure that they're connected to us, or they at least know we're there. And we'll talk about that more at the end too, once we go through the scenarios. Like I said, if there's an immediate threat, there's self-harm, potentially life-threatening situation, the first person who's aware of the situation should contact DPS or 911 depending on the situation. So that would be like an extreme case, like it's not safe for the student to necessarily leave your site. That's going to be a very extreme situation. I don't know if that's necessarily happened since I've even been here. But, if all else fails, make sure you're safe and the students are safe. So talking to students, be clear in your objectives, assessing ability to perform in class, problem solving, what's really going on, consideration for overall well-being of the student. Just kind of get to know your students. I know you all are as busy as we are, but taking that extra couple seconds to get to know the person that you're talking to, rather than just looking at them as a student ID number, which I know we don't necessarily do that on this campus, but sometimes letting the students know that we care, going that extra mile, is essential. Talk and listen to the student in a private setting if all possible. Take them back to your office for office hours, or invite them back to your office for office hours, rather than talking to them maybe in front of the entire class of peers. We don't want students to be embarrassed, obviously. Some students are very, very straightforward. I think Charlie would agree with that. They really don't care who knows what's going on in their life. But then others, you're going to have some that they're going to have a hard time opening up to you at all, even in a private setting, much less in front of peers. Especially if you're having class discussion and they say something during class and they start talking about something that seems more serious, try your best to kind of shut it down and say, hey, can we possibly talk about this, after class? Just to where it's not necessarily going too far in a class discussion. Communicate understanding by restating the essence of what the student has told you. summarize, paraphrase. The best thing, that's kind of a counseling skill. So if y'all use that, you're kind of doing what we do to a certain level. Being able to restate back to where the student, active listening, letting them know that you're hearing what they're saying rather than assuming what they're saying. Be positive and provide a sense of hope. Probably not the best time to talk to the student about the fact that they're going to fail the class if they're talking to you about struggling or not thinking they've got hope in the future. Probably the best, maybe a better time later on to maybe talk about the fact that they're going to fail the class. Time and place for everything, right? So some example statements. I wanted to touch base with you because I've noticed blank, and I just wanted to see how you're doing. Just kind of point out the behavior that's a little concerning to you or whatever you see going on. I've seen some changes over the last few weeks. You don't seem like yourself. Maybe we can help you, or maybe we can get you some help. Sometimes students honestly just need somebody to care. And it just boils down to that. I think sometimes students, with me and Charlie especially, I don't mean to speak for Charlie, but I am. Sometimes students are just homesick, and they honestly are struggling to make friends, and they just need somebody to talk to. And that's not necessarily your all's jobs, but in the moment, if you all can just point them in our direction, if nothing else, that is a major help and a preventative measure. Just to make sure these students are heard and seen and they're on somebody's radar.
And the great thing about these statements and questions, and Doug will talk about it more, you don't have to have any special training. These are just good questions to ask just to get things started, just to really gauge how somebody's doing.
Just to kind of get the ball rolling. I mean, it's not like you need a business card and you're going to pull it out and be like, I wanted to touch base with you. I mean, it's not like that, obviously. Because then at that point it doesn't feel genuine. That's another thing. I said something about generations, but current generation, genuineness is essential. Like, they want to know that we actually care. I think Dr. Fowler was talking about how reaching students anymore, getting students to necessarily come to campus, the methods that we used 10 years ago don't necessarily work now anymore because it feels superficial, right? So a copy and paste email to a student of concern for us doesn't nearly get as far as a personalized email is going to with that student, because then they actually know we took the time to reach out to them rather than just send an automatic email, right? Questions: how are you doing? Do you need a private space to talk to someone? Would you like to schedule a time to meet with a counselor or Mr. Doug or Kristen or student success or whoever the person is they need to meet with, depending on the problem. But like I said, that's where that business card's going to come in handy, because you've got the website on there. I think eventually it would be good to have a little QR on there to where we could just scan it and it would take you directly to it. So when to consult. You're not sure how to handle a situation or approach a student that you're concerned about. It's okay to not know what to do. The thing is knowing how to get the help to help the student. Like, if you've got a student and they're talking about this, that, or the other, and you're like, I don't have a clue, I'm not trained in this, it's not the end of the world. The biggest thing is making sure that we have the resources available to you all, to where you all know where to go to get the help that you need. There are different personalities or different personality differences that interfere with your ability to work with a student. Sometimes personalities clash. It's just people do not necessarily, as my dad would say, G and Haw. We just don't necessarily see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay. But once again, the biggest thing is making sure the students have the resources they need to be able to get the help that they need. The student keeps coming back, it's not followed through with your referral to the counseling center, or blank. If you keep suggesting to a student, hey, it may be a good idea to get a planner. Are you using a calendar? And it doesn't seem to be working, or they keep turning in assignments late, or they keep asking for extensions and it doesn't seem to be working. Once again, I mean, that could be a sign that something else is going on, or they're just not willing to necessarily follow through with what they're asking you with help for. So at that point, that may be where you need to refer them to student success, or maybe to us. Maybe there's something else going on. If you send them to health services to see or to see Kristen and there's something mental health going on, she's going to send them on to us. So the point is, like I said earlier, it's just the point of making sure the students get the help that they need when they need it, and having those resources available. When to refer, the problems or requests made are outside the scope of your role with the student. If you have a student talking about, I'm autistic, I got diagnosed whenever, and I'm thinking I need more time on your tests. At that point, you would send them to David Humphrey in our building. We would get accommodations set up. Maybe they need to come talk to me or Charlie. Maybe something else is going on. That's not necessarily your all's scope. You can't necessarily assign accommodations. That would go through David Humphrey with ADA services. So make sure you're staying within the scope of what you're doing. You aren't sure how to handle a situation, you feel uncomfortable or uneasy. The last thing we want for you all is for you all to feel uncomfortable or unsafe or whatever. At that point, that it's time to make sure that we're getting the students the help that needs to be provided. If you're concerned about a student's ability to function, if you're concerned about safety, obviously if you're concerned about safety, make sure that you're referring them to us. So who do I refer to? Counseling services. I'm not going to run through all this. You all know a lot of this, and you can read. I know as professors, you probably get tired of people reading directly off PowerPoints, right? But the information, we all have, different issues, need different types of referrals. I think on that last paper in the packet I give you all, there's even the Res Life on call number. I put it on there. If you feel like a student needs a welfare check, the RAs will go to the room, go to their dorm room if they live on campus, and make sure the student's all right. If they've not left their room in 3 or 4 days, it could probably is an issue. But we've got all kinds of resources on campus. We just have to use them. And that's the big thing that we want to get across today is not everything is a counseling mental health issue. It can be something that goes beyond that. But either way, we want to make sure that students have the help that they need. So dealing with ambivalence, persuade the student to get help by doing more. I care about you, let's call counseling services, they can help. Will you let me help you make an appointment? I can walk you over there. We've had professors in the past walk students to the counseling center. It tells the student honestly that you all care and you're taking the time, that extra few minutes to make sure the student's actually getting where they need to be. Reassure the student that this person's trained and can help them. More or less just let them know that we're there to help. That's the entire reason. If there was no students on campus, there would be no need for me and Charlie or Mr. Doug. So we are literally paid to do this. And we've went through the trainings and the courses and the classes and certification and everything else to deal with these situations. And we're here to help. And we want to help. So the next one's questions, but we're not taking questions right now. We're going to wait till the end. So that's a bit of a lie, I'm sorry. The whole point is, yeah, sorry. The whole point is you don't have to be mental health professionals, right? We just want you to provide support, refer students where they need to go. You're kind of planting seeds of hope, if nothing else. We want you all to have the information that you need. That's why you got such a big packet. We want you all to make sure you've got all the information you need to help our students the best you possibly can. We want you all to be able to go into situations and be confident in knowing that you're going to be able to help. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Doug. He's going to go over VAR, which is something he talks with students about all the time.
I'm going to go over the VAR card with you, if you'll take that out. Just to let you know what VAR is, this is something that Jennifer and Catlett and I created. And really we created it as an opportunity for anyone to be able to share care and to be caring and to provide concern for anyone, not just for students, or not just for faculty, but I give these out to students. In the presentations that I've done, and I've done about 45 presentations this semester so far, I actually take these and I do these with students because students have friends that come to them. And here's what we heard across the board. Lots of times students were saying, I just don't know what to say. And you know what we heard from faculty? I just don't know what to say. So VAR is a very simple way for you to be able to extend care and love and concern that does not require you to be a clinical counselor. I almost called this 7 minutes of caring, but VAR was just a lot shorter, so we just went with VAR. But really, literally, this takes about 7 or 8 minutes, and you've let that person know, you know what, you matter to me. It's important what you're going through, and I want to be a support to you. So in going to students, you know, sometimes you have to buy audience participation, and so every class that I went to, I went with stress balls. So in order to have your participation, I also have stress balls for you as well. So we'll give those to you at the end. We didn't want you throwing them around during the presentation or anything like that. But one of the things that I found out is that students really do want to know how to help each other. And I have a vision. One of the visions that I have is that we have a community that involves everyone in the care. Every person that's on campus knows how to care for each other. Staff, faculty, you know, the people in our cafeteria. I have seen so many times them having interactions with students, and those students are just pouring out their hearts to them. I want everyone to know you're a part of this community, and we want to make sure that we're caring and taking care of each other. So we'll go over VAR very quickly. Very easy. You can use this in just about any opportunity that you have with a student. What is the V? What does the V say?
Validate.
Validate. Validate their what? Feelings. It doesn't say approve of their feelings. It just says validate their feelings. That doesn't mean that you need to tell them that what they're, you know, because sometimes they're coming to you with some outrageous feelings. So validating their feelings is not saying that you approve of them. It's just saying, you know what, I know you're going through a tough time. I know you're having some issues, okay? And I want you to know I know that you're having a tough time. Okay? The A is very simple. Appreciate. Appreciate what?
Their courage.
Appreciate their courage. Do you know how hard it is? And for some of you, this may be true of you. Sometimes it's extremely hard to talk to somebody about what's going on with you or to reach out for help. Okay? I've shared this in all of our classes, and I've shared that, you know, there are lots of times there are people that just struggle with asking for help. Actually, asking for help has now shown up on life skills inventories. That they think everybody needs to learn how to ask for help. The reason is that we tend to struggle with that. It's prideful. I need to know how to do this myself. The group that I have seen that has struggled with this the most, 2 groups. Men, because we tend to handle everything. I don't need anybody's help. I got this. And athletes. Because sometimes they've got so much drive, they've got some motivation, I just need to be able to do this all on my own. And I tell them, you know what, grit is great. Motivation, that's awesome. But you know what, there's going to come a time that grit and motivation are not going to get you where you need to go. You need to take another step. Okay? So we need to validate their feelings, we need to appreciate their courage. The R, I'm going to really clarify this. The R is refer, it says refer to case management or refer for support. Here's the reality. Do not say to them, go see Doug. Don't. Because about 3 steps, once they've turned 3 steps away, they've literally forgotten. Okay? What I'm going to ask you to do is something that takes about a minute. And in that minute, you're going to show a huge degree of care for that student. And what you're going to do is you're going to send me an email that you're going to copy that student in that email. You're going to say, hey, Doug, Susan and I spoke today. I'm sending this with Susan's permission. I have her attached. We think it'd be a good idea for the 2 of you to talk. That's it. Okay? How much clinical expertise did that take? None. You know what it took? All you got to do is care. All you got to do is care. We've got the secret weapon. Love. That's the secret weapon. That's one that Jesus stressed all the time. Love each other, care for each other, encourage one another, build one another up. Okay? So you're going to send them that email. That email is going to do 2 things. For you, in your relationship with them, it's going to do 2 things. First of all, it's going to remind them, oh, my professor is reminding me that I need to reach out to Doug. Okay? Second thing it's going to do is it's going to show that you care. 1 minute. It took you 1 minute to do an email. And that shows a great degree of care because they realize that as professors, you guys are busy. You guys got classes, you've got papers to grade, you've got all these kinds of things. When they see an email that's got their name in it and it's not a bad thing, they really feel like, okay, these people really do care about me. The other thing, it's going to trigger me and I'm going to respond to them that day. They're going to hear something from me that day. It might be, I'd love to set up a meeting with you. Some of the students that I work with, I never see. We do everything through email and through text. I have a work cell phone, and I'm not bothered by that because sometimes that helps to eliminate that step of, oh my gosh, I got to have a meeting with someone. No, I can get you I can get you where you need to go. Okay? So I'm going to respond back to you, and I'm going to say thank you for taking the time to reach out. I appreciate that because I know you're busy. Students going to see that, they're going to know that you care. Okay? So you've probably heard all kinds of speeches and all kinds of things that you can say to students when they come to you with things. This is just one of the tools in your toolkit. Okay? There's all kinds of things. One that I've also loved that I actually stole from my friends at the University of from FSU is I call it OARS. Okay? OARS. Open-ended questions, affirmations, reflective listening, summarizing. Takes no clinical experience. That's our secret weapon is loving and caring. That's really what it's about. It's about you being involved in their lives. And I tell students all the time, I'm not going to be involved in your life beyond what you need. But I've been very blessed and I have the opportunity to reach out. When I reach out to a student, I follow up with them. Now, I might get them what they need, get them the resources, get them connected to whoever. I might send them an email in a week that just says, hey, how are you doing? Just want to see how you're doing. Some students, I know after the first time I send that, I don't need to do that anymore. Some students have actually told me, you know, it's nice to have somebody that checks in on me every couple of weeks. It'll be 2 years in December that I started this position. I have students that from that point still like it when I just send them an email that says nothing more than, hey, how's your week going? It's not, did you go to counseling? You know, have you gotten your health checkup? Have you done all these things? All it is, hey, how's your week going? And that means something to them. It's the little things. So this is just another tool in the toolkit. I know many of you've probably got lots of things, but the main thing is you loving and you sharing and you caring. That's what's going to help these students find the connection that they need. I told someone that I really believe, coming out of ministry and being involved in ministry a number of years, I told someone I think that the same thing that people in churches want are the same thing that our students want. They want to be known and they want to be needed. Lots of things, lots of opportunities there to help these students to be known and needed. Okay? If there's ever anything that I can do for you, like I said, I don't know if I've spoken in any of your classes, but I've spoken in lots of classes. I think I've had, once I finish up, I've got one more this semester. I think I've done 45 presentations with coaches, different departments, athletic teams, all those kinds of things. I'd love to be able to come and share about the resources and what we're doing in case management and how we want to extend that care to the students. So if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know, okay? All right, thank you.